This is the VHS Bros retrospective of one of the best horror movies out there. We're kind of talking about John Carpenter's The Thing.
That's right, one of the greatest horror films ever made. One of my personal favorite ones ever made. Actually, it's a contender for my all-time favorite. I go back and forth between that one and The Shining. Depends on the day.
Now, something about really nice was John Carpenter. It's how this was John Carpenter's first big studio movie, which I didn't know. Since Halloween and a lot of this other movies beforehand, like Attack on Precinct 13.
Very small scale in production.
It came out in a very awkward time for it, which I think everybody that's probably watching this would know that it didn't perform well in the box office, but became a cult hit, especially with the practical effect, a lot of the atmosphere and music.
The problem with its initial release was it came out 2 weeks after E.T., which features a very different type of alien. So by comparison, critics and audiences felt like this was much more cynical, much more bleak, nihilistic, and they didn't appreciate the direction it took, nor all the violence showed on screen. So this one actually almost destroyed John Carpenter's career. Because The Thing was such a big flop, a bunch of studios refused to hire him, so he was barely able to land his next job, which was Christine. But because that one did decently well, he got back on track. So it's interesting how arguably his best film almost sunk his career pretty early on.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's interesting to think back of what people were looking for in movies back in the 80s. I even wonder if it was received that critically bad, or if people just simply didn't really think about it at the time. You don't have the internet. The only people that would post their opinions on movies, it was a lot more limited than it is now. I don't know exactly when the movie became more of a cult hit. I assume it was probably even in the 90s and stuff where it was considered a popular movie.
Yeah, I guess I don't know when it really took roots, but I'm glad it did.
Those that don't know the premise of The Thing, it's pretty much like an Among Us type game type movie.
It was Among Us before Among Us.
Well, I'm sure Among Us took big inspiration from The Thing. My favorite thing about it always has been the practical effects. That's what made it one of my favorite movies as a teenager. When I was first getting into horror movies and stuff, it's just the way everything looks, the way the thing looks. It's very insanely well done.
I remember before I watched it, it was on a streaming platform that I visited pretty regularly, and all I really knew about it was the cover picture with the guy in the suit and the light covering his face so you couldn't see him. And I always thought it looked really creepy, and I thought, I want to watch that. That looks intriguing, but I feel like it's going to terrify the crap out of me.
How old were you then?
15.
Okay. So where was it streaming at that time?
I don't remember specifically.
Yeah, for me, it was the first time I heard about it was from James Rolfe, the Angry Video Game Nerd.
I don't think I watched it until after I'd watched John Carpenter's original Halloween. I thought that was really well done. Let's see what else he's got. And that was pretty high up on the list.
I think the reason why it has such a universal appeal, because this is a movie I show to a lot of people that aren't necessarily into horror movies.
Same.
They're still surprised with the effects and the creature and the monster itself. No matter when you watch the movie, that's what makes it really timeless. It's all those effects. And then if you're more into movies, you'll notice really great details like the music, cinematography, and pretty much every little bit of the movie. This last watch, since we're listening to commentary, I like the sets and the lighting is what I'm noticing the most. This watch, I feel like you can praise it in each part of filmmaking.
Yeah, I think a lot of the tension and paranoia for this movie rests on the shoulders of the actors. Because this movie takes itself very seriously, doesn't really wink at the audience or anything. So if you're going to have something that's supposed to be scary and filled with paranoia and totally serious, you need convincing performances. And I think oftentimes in horror movies, a lot of those performances are very underappreciated because you need to be able to convey subtle emotions and then very loud emotions, back and forth pretty quickly. Because the performances were all pretty spot on, there wasn't any weak links, it's totally believable and you can feel the tension because of that. And as you said, the score definitely contributes to that a lot, as well as stuff like the lighting. But this time around, I really appreciated how solid everyone did.
Yeah, it really makes you feel like Spider-Man. Well, to add to what you were saying about the tension and the actors, something that I learned a lot of new stuff watching it with the commentary on. So one is that a lot of the context that's never really given to you in the movie itself, but like it goes into like the actors and the portrayal of the characters. Is that each of these characters and all these actors seems like they had an idea of the backstory of the character.
Yeah.
Like, John Carpenter mentions it there in the commentary a few times, which adds a lot more layers that you don't even know as when you're just watching it unknowingly. Like, I mean, I can remember their character names, Windows and McCready and stuff like that. Like right now because we've just watched the movie, but otherwise, usually I don't know any of the characters' names.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's not because they're not memorable. It's just there's just so many, and they're just like,
Well,
and I just gotta remember them with how they look.
It's a pretty big cast, and they also all dress pretty similarly because they have the big giant winter overcoats.
There's instances where it must be done on purpose because especially if they're wearing masks and stuff, they all look pretty much
pretty
the same.
indistinguishable. Yeah, I think that contributes a bit to the realism of it, though. In real life, you wouldn't have a group of a dozen men who all look and act super distinctly.
Yeah,
because then it would venture into more fantastical, cartoonish type territory, which absolutely would not work for the type of movie they're going for.
Yeah, probably be more like a mystery type of like the Glass
hokey
Onion or something.
Was it the butler?
Wait, what's that from?
Well, just kind of the whoddunit.
Yeah.
Was
exactly.
it the butler? Was it the maid?
Like Clue.
Yeah, it turned into Clue.
Or Among Us. And so it gives you an appreciation of how like them taking it that way. It's what made it all connect. It's one of those films that's definitely like lightning in a bottle. Like you can't really recreate it. I feel like it's like right up there in that boat with like Willy Wonka and like the original Star Wars. In a way also kind of Halloween. Like it just exceeded what they were trying to do originally in their cultural impact.
They had no idea what they were making.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The context I had before, or I've had through like not listening to the commentary stuff like that, is that John Carpenter wanted to make this because he loves the original a lot.
You mentioned you can't recreate this. They tried to recreate this with the prequel for the also entitled The Thing. Mm-hmm. And that was a disaster.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, so I don't really have an opinion.
I'm such a big fan that I thought, well, anything in addition to The Thing has got to be at least somewhat worthwhile.
Yeah.
No. It's terrible. What it does is it tries to follow the beat structure of the original film, the pacing and the scares and stuff, but it does so at the expense of logic, where the Thing will lash out at a moment when it doesn't make sense to do so. It will expose itself in front of a huge group of people, just so that it can get a similar point in the story where the Thing strikes as the original.
That's interesting. I wonder, maybe they should have just tried to do their own thing more, or maybe they tried and they wouldn't let them. I don't know. You never know. And so that's like, I think another thing too with this movie, a lot of things just fell into place for it. The fact that they use real flares, which is something I never even considered either, and like how it's like an annoyance to hold it. Also how like they did film in like British Columbia as well as Alaska in some parts. The set in California, of course, just has like super strong AC or whatever, but
yeah, they refrigerated it.
Yeah, but being outside, it makes a big difference, I think, in how a movie feels, and like a lot
definitely.
more modern movies are 99% in studios.
I think this movie really is a testament to how great practical effects and practical sets can be.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's impractical for practical sets are impractical some of the time.
Or
but oftentimes
90% of the time.
Yeah. Oftentimes, though, it really delivers something that you can't get through visual effects. Now, in addition to the practical effects are arguably the best thing in the movie, as you mentioned. I would also say that the sense of paranoia is perfectly done. So the way the film is paced, the way the performances are done, the way everything is shot, just perfectly develops this slow building of dread and foreboding to the point where you as the audience member never quite can tell when something's going to happen or who you can trust. Even on the rewatch, every time I watch, I try to see if I can figure out when people have been overtaken by the Thing or who's the Thing when.
Have you been able to?
No. It's so hard to tell because like everyone just seems totally normal until they're exposed.
Yeah, I think it's literally impossible. I tried that too, but I stopped trying.
It's just so fun to speculate.
It is.
That's an amazing thing about the film is 40 years later we can still speculate about it and have discussions.
Even to this day, I still, for the most part, forget who gets infected at which like order and stuff like that because when stuff goes down and it goes crazy, it tends to go pretty quick.
Yeah.
Most of the movies, the build up, but it's not a jump scare type build up. It's more of a paranoia.
Yeah, exactly.
Which gives it a different feel of horror. It's like the opposite feeling of things like the back rooms, where it's like, oh, the isolation drives you crazy. It's like, I mean, in this situation, if you were alone, you'd at least know that you're not the creature, unless you.
Well, we don't know
even
that for sure. Maybe John Carpenter himself has said he doesn't know for sure if if you're the thing, if you know that you're the thing or not.
Yeah, which I think it definitely helps contribute to that discussion.
He's been pretty tight-lipped about it, where he doesn't reveal any definitive things. Where he's like, maybe it's this, maybe it's not. We'll never know.
And I don't think he ever will. He's kind of like a David Lynch in that way, because directors like John Carpenter and David Lynch really care about like the experience you get.
Yeah.
They don't really care about like the world they do care about the world and story they're building, but not for the sake of the world.
John Carpenter is very consistent at creating a very cool atmosphere that when you watch the film, you feel like whatever is going on screen is awesome.
They don't want to give all the answers because that's not the point.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of like...
The whole point of this one is just feeling paranoid and unsure.
Yeah, which is something that I really like about these guys, of how they have a very clear vision in what they want to convey to the person, at least with this movie, and it hits really well.
Yeah, John Carpenter wanted to tell a story about AIDS.
It's true. But you'll have to do your own research.
As far as negatives for this film, I honestly really don't have any. And that's not just me being a fanboy, that's just everything just works super well for me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's just one of those complete movies for sure. Like, if you want to nitpick, like, sure you can. Like, just like any movie, you can always find flaws. Of course, as awesome as the effects are, if you look at them by today's standards, of course, you'll see, like, oh yeah, it doesn't look... Most shots still looks very realistic.
It still looks super convincing.
Well, it's just the shot, like, when Window's body is, like, flopping around. And if you look at the shot by shot, or like the shot to shot, which obviously you don't see as in the honest, you'll see that, of course. You can tell it's a dummy flopping around because it is, or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's not really a flaw. I think that's just charming. You can't really say anything bad about it. The music's great, the sets are great, the acting's great, and like, for a paranoia-filled adventure in Antarctica, like, very icy. It's very good for winter time. Perfect movie to watch at winter.
Yeah, when you're nestled inside in the middle of January, the world feels cold and depressing.
Yeah.
Nothing like The Thing to lift your spirits.
What score would you give The Thing out of?
In all respects, rewatchability, enjoyment, and quality, just straight 10s all around. As I said, I feel like it's arguably a flawless film. Depending on the day, I'll say either this or The Shining is my all-time favorite horror film.
Yeah.
So 10 out of 10.
I would agree with that. I think, like, if I were to give it like a score as well, if I were to drink like 7 Mountain Dews, means like perfect movie, because I could drink 7 Mountain Dews while watching it. I would give this one 7 Mountain Dews out of 7. 7 out of 7.
So all in all, definitely recommend watching The Thing. If you have not watched it yet, go, please check it out.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us how you feel about the movie. Let us know if you think there are any flaws. Let us know if you also think it's a flawless film.
If you don't like the movie, comment below. If you like it, just don't bother.
Okay, that's it for now. Bye.